Welcome to Saultsports.com NOSSA Football Preview Show. My name's Tony Boniferro, joined alongside Algonquin Baron's head coach, Coach Debs. How you doing tonight, Coach?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good, man. Thanks so much for doing this. Excited that we're going to have a NOSSA game. So thanks so much for taking some time to do this.
My pleasure.
So, Coach, I just want you to kind of, talk about your season this year and kind of how it went. You guys finished with a 3-1 record, I believe, in the regular season, and you guys had a really strong performance this year. Just kind of talk a little bit about your year and your season. I know, again, this is the first time in 40 years I think your program has won a city championship. So, all the credit in the world. So, just talk a little bit about your year.
Well, it was a little bit uncertain at first just because we had no idea what was going on, right? We didn't know we didn't start till almost 2.5 weeks after school started. So it was kind of rush to get everything going. But I think the expectations were relatively high. We knew we had a good group of athletes coming back. And for us, it was just a question of staying focused. And we had our first couple of games were pretty and the first one was 43-0 and then 36 and 30-0. And our last game of the regular season, we already clinched first place and we had a couple injuries. So we sat about 6 starters, didn't play our quarterback, and we still almost pulled the game off. I mean, the other team scored with 30 seconds left. So, for us, I think it was just, for me, it's great to see a group of kids be successful. And we rolled kids in and out all year long too, which was really cool. Like a lot of times in the past we've had 4 or 5, 6 guys going both ways, and that wasn't the case. So to play that well and to have a lot of kids playing just one position was pretty special.
Yeah, you actually answered one of my questions, which is great, because I was going to say, you guys had such a great season, and then I noticed the score of your last game, right? And I'm kind of wondering what happened there. But, yeah, you answered that well, so thank you. So this season, obviously, it had a lot of different challenges, right? What are some of the big challenges that you guys faced? Did you guys have a tough time getting kids out? Or did you have a tough time getting fifth-year players back, those types of things?
Well, actually, not really. I mean, to be honest with you, like fifth year for us is a luxury. Like we have 4 this year, I believe, and that's when we get fifth year kids, we get 4 or 5, and that's the max. Like I've never had more than that in my 10 years as a senior coach. So for us, that's the norm. But I found it just across junior and senior, we actually had more kids come out than like right now we're 31 dressed with the seniors, which is about average, but the juniors, for example, they're up 10 or 12 kids over the last couple of years. Wow. So and usually you have to really go get them, but they seem this year I get they were just COVID tired, wanted to come out and play.
Yeah. That's great. So you said you've been at the school for 10 years now? This is your 10th year?
Senior program. This is going into my 9th season as a senior coach. I was junior coach for 7 years. So I'm going into my 17th year.
That's great. So what led to the change in kind of the development of the senior program where, you said you guys hadn't won a city championship in such a long time. So you kind of took over the program and, obviously you've had major success starting to go forward. So kind of talk a little bit about what led to that success for the school.
Well, the biggest thing is building up the junior program, right? Like in 2010, we had won our first junior title in 32 or 33 years, right? And we won 4 in a row. And I think we made 8 finals in 9 seasons, 5 championships since 2010. So that really helps too. And then once you get that success going, it's a little easier to keep it going at senior because the kids they've tasted the success and they want to kind of continue that. And we've come close a few years at senior, but just weren't able to kind of, push the door open and take that title. So for us, being able to do that is awesome. It's awesome. It's kind of like getting like, it's not just the monkey off your back. It's the getting the gorilla off your back, to be honest.
All right, Coach. So obviously you've had a pretty successful season, and to have a successful season, you need to have veteran players who step up. I know that, your quarterback, Andrew Robillard, you got a couple really good receivers, James McGill, Nick Mondor, you have a running back and Nick Baldessero, got a couple linemen, Pierce and Bro. Just kind of talk a little bit about the players on your team and the guys who've really stepped up this year.
Well, that offensively, I know that pretty much sums it up right there. It's just a question it's been. I don't think I've ever had this much balance in terms of being able to pass the ball, run the ball, and just having that size up front for a small school of our stature. We're 430 kids, 9 to 12. Having linemen, for example, have always been a luxury. Like, we're lucky if we have 2 or 3, and this year we have those 2 veterans who are clearly noticeable on the field, but also we have about 8 or 9 that can play pretty well, which for us is just awesome, because it's not something we're used to. And in terms of quarterback, Andrew has just been outstanding. Really, probably the most skilled quarterback I've coached in my 16 years personally. He just has all the tools. He can make that 55-yard pass rolling out and hit his target in stride. You talk about McGill and Mondor, just 2 excellent receivers. They can play slot position. They can move out wide. Just very good at tracking the ball. And of course, Boniferro, he's just, he's just such a multifaceted player. He can run, he can catch, he can block, he can do everything. So when you have that kind of mix, it makes it a little easier offensively. Anyways, it just kind of opens things up, and you can do more, right?
So I know you don't want to give out too much information, probably, but what kind of team are the Algonquin Barons as a football team? Are you more of a smash mouth team? Are you more of a spread type offense? What do you guys do well?
We spread the ball well. We throw the ball well. I mean, this is if you look at our play calling, it's been probably past 70% of the time. And again, running a true spread is not something that's easily done either. You got to have the athletes to make it work, and not just the athletes, but the quarterback as well. Right? You can't run a spread offense with a quarterback who can only throw 20 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't work.
So obviously you're playing Cora Colts. Cora just dominated up here locally this year. There's been historically a strong program over the last few years. Kind of talk about your game plan kind of going into the game. What do you guys need to do well in order to win?
Well, I think for Cora, we got to stop the run. I mean, they ran for 400 yards in the championship final. Yeah. That's 3-down football, 400 yards. That tells you all you need to know right there. So that'll be a big focus for us is stopping the running game. Obviously, Nicoletta's a monster back. The kid's a stud, and he's the key that makes everything work. So for us, we got to work it out for us. I mean, the Sault Ste Marie has always typically been very strong football wise, and this year is obviously no different. So for us, it's just a question of we have to first of all stop the run, and also be sure tacklers. That's missed tackles and all that kind of stuff it's going to kill us. So if we play sound fundamental football, we tackle well, and we can fill those running lanes. You never know.
That's awesome. How did this game kind of come through? Was there any suspicion that it might not happen, or was there any fear that it might not happen? How did it actually come to fruition?
The NOSSA final, we weren't sure. For us, we didn't even know we were going to have a season, to be honest with you, until, I said, because Sudbury had already started, and I think you guys started before we did too. Our board was 2 weeks behind everybody else. So for us, we were just happy to play football. And then when we were sitting down to go over the schedule with the convener, they were in contact. NOSSA's go. So for us, it was like, okay, perfect. I know Sudbury pulled out. There was supposed to be actually a semi between Sault and Sudbury, and then with us going to travel to the winter, but I guess Sudbury pulled out of NOSSA. So for us, we kind of knew right off the get-go that it was in the cards, and that's why we played this is the first time that we've actually had only 3 teams senior. I know you guys have ran that for a while up in the Sault, but for us senior, we've been at least 4 or 5, right? So for us, it was adaptation, because not only do you have one team playing and while the other team has a bye, but we have to try and squeeze everything in to try and be ready for NOSSA, right? And now the rule is for Alfea, you have to wait 96 hours between games, right? So you have to have a full 4 days. So we were playing literally every 4 days and then you have a bye week. You play 2 games in 10 days, and then you'd have a bye. And then we didn't play for 2.5 weeks after our last regular season game because we had a bye straight to the finals.
Wow. So you only had 1 game then in the last month almost, you'd say?
Pretty much. Since October 21st, we've had 2 games.
Oh, 2. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. Were you guys allowed to have fans at your games?
No, not until the last regular season game, actually. And then we were allowed fans. But I mean, luckily games at Scholar, that's the other high school with a turf field. They were streaming the games from their clubhouse. But at Old Michelle, our turf field, our city turf field, basically what happens is you'd have parents that were outside the field because, I mean, the school board rents the inside. We can't control who's outside, right? So there was still a significant number of fans that would show up to watch. But it certainly was a lot different having them inside the gate for the championship, for sure.
So, yeah, you know, and I asked that because here in the Sioux, it was very similar, right? And it was a controversial topic up here. You know, people wanted to watch their kids, which is completely understandable.
Yeah,
and we were allowed at Sault Sports to stream the games, but only over the radio. We weren't allowed to video the games. Yeah, so you know there was, but they've opened things up a little bit now. So I'm not sure what they're doing for the NOSSA finals. I know that they were doing like each kid was allowed two parents or two people to come in. So I'm assuming that would be something similar.
Yeah, I was just informed that.
Yeah. Do you guys have many fans coming up for the game?
More than I thought. I'd say at least half the kids have people coming. So
wow.
That's
great.
Pretty, yeah.
So you talked a lot about your offense this year. Talk a little bit about your defense. Obviously, you guys didn't allow a whole lot of points, and in order, you know, they always say defense wins championships, right? So talk a little bit about your defense and kind of how that evolved over the year.
Our defense is just like I said. I think we get in the 3 games that, not counting that last regular season game where we sat a bunch of kids, we've given them 9 points in 4 games, right? So they're very sound defensively. They don't cheat very, very often. They stay at home. They know their assignments. And that's basically, if I had to describe our defense, they're well disciplined. We're, you know, and that's, to me, that's our biggest strength on defense. It's almost like bend but don't break. You know, we'll give up a few yards here and there, but when the push comes to shove, we seem to come dig down with that stop, or you know, our turnover ratio was fairly high this year and on the plus side. So again, that's to me that's our identity. We're well disciplined. We'll bend but don't break, and we're pretty we've been pretty good on takeaways.
So obviously, if you guys are winning a city championship, it goes far beyond just the head coach, as important as the head coach is. Talk a little bit about your staff this year and, you know, who you have helping you out.
Well, and that's for me, it's been an outstanding season because I've had an outstanding coaching staff. Like for years at Algonquin, it's been me and another coach, you know, 2 coaches for 45 kids, right? Like football is not, that's not ideal in football, right? Because football is very specific. You know, you have within an offense, you have 4 or 5 different position groupings, and all the skills are all different. But this year we've had a few guys. We're 5, and they're great guys. They're very knowledgeable, and it's really taken a lot of the load off too. Like this year, it's the first time in my 17 years where I've actually felt like a head coach, kind of delegating and, you know, not having to run everything. Right? We have Nick Shank as our OC. He's a big, as you can tell, spread guy, very knowledgeable, very passionate. Defensively, we have Joey St. Onge. She's been with me for a few years, and we also got a young man from who played at Waterloo. He's at Nipissing here for his B.Ed, Nick Snyder, who played D-line for Waterloo. He's been outstanding. Special teams coordinator, assistant on D, and Todd Robillard, another guy I've been coaching with for a few years, helping out with the defense. And it's great when you can have guys that you can set up a practice plan and you can delegate tasks, and they know what to do, and you don't have to sit there and literally take charge of everything. It's such a load off, and it's so refreshing because the kids, when you have that kind of development, the kids just get so much more in terms of their skill development, right? And it's great to see.
Yeah, and it's nice to have guys that have played at the next level as well, right? They know the system and they can act as a mentor. Do you have any kids that are, or any players that are thinking about going and playing at the next level?
As far as I know, there's a couple. I know Boniferro was signed to Bishops at one point.
Oh, nice.
And I know McGill is considering St. Clair College. Yeah. And there's a couple others, like there's some of them voice interest. I know Robillard definitely, if not next year, the year after, for sure, he'll definitely get a look. But yeah, so as far as I know, there are nothing confirmed as of yet, other than Boniferro and Bishops. But that was last year or 2 years ago. I believe last year. Yeah, last year. And so, yeah.
That's great. So, you've been doing this for 17 years. You've been doing this a long time. You obviously have to be dedicated. What kind of brings you back year after year to doing this and to putting in so much time and effort?
When you get to see those kids, 10 years later, and they all make a point to come say, "Hey, coach, how's it going?" And then they'll sit there and they'll talk about it. Like, you can't, all the time and effort you put in can't pay you for that kind of stuff, right? Or the kids that, I don't know how many texts I got after we won from just old teachers and coaches and players and even students saying, "Hey, Monsieur, congrats, like, well done." Like that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, listen, Coach, really appreciate you doing this. I hope you guys have a safe trip up here, and we'll definitely be chatting with you on, at the game on Saturday. And best of luck to you guys. You're going to have as many people as probably are allowed inside Superior Heights, so it'll be a good crowd, that's for sure. And we'll be there broadcasting the game as well. Any last words before we let you go?
No, not really. I just want to thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure. I appreciate it, Tony. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, best of luck this week. And it'll be great. Looking forward to meeting you face to face.
Same here. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks, Coach.
See you later.
See you later.
Bye.